Well, ski season is underway here in Michigan, and more snow is bound to happen, which means the slopes are going to be pretty busy out there. But before you head out, you may want a refresher on your basic legal rules when it comes to skiing and snowboarding. And for that, we turn to Tom Sinas from Sinas Dramis Law Firm for a recap on the Michigan Ski Safety Act. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Todd. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thanks for asking. But let's start with what that is. What is the Michigan Ski Safety Act?
Yeah, it's probably not something most people have heard of or thought of when they're buying their lift tickets or heading out to the slopes, but we have a statute in Michigan we've had for a long time that is called the Ski Area Safety Act. So what is it? Well, it was a statute designed to try to create the rules of the road, if you will, for how ski hills are supposed to operate. And it includes things like what ski operators are supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do, what skiers are supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do. And it's intended to provide a legal framework for what the rules are when you're engaged in this fun, but really quite different type of activity. So that's the basic idea of what the Ski Area Safety Act is seeking to accomplish.
And when it comes to those basic rules, let's start with the hills. What are some of the rules for the ski hills out there?
So there are a specific set of rules in the statute that apply to ski hills. Many of them you would think are obvious, but they're there, I think, for the basic idea of providing safety. So, for example, if a ski hill is using ski grooming equipment, the ski grooming equipment has to be equipped with a flashing or rotating yellow light. Ski hills are required to mark at the top of the trail the relative difficulty of the trail. You know, we've all become accustomed to the green, blue, black type rating system. That's required by law. Ski hills, especially here in Michigan, we have a lot of snowmaking equipment on the hill. So under the statute, the snowmaking equipment is required to have warning signs around the snowmaking equipment or other ways so that skiers know that that equipment is there so they hopefully don't ski into it. And there are others, but that's kind of the basic gist of the types of obligations that the Ski Area Safety Act imposes on the ski hills.
Okay, so that takes care of the hills, some of the legal obligations that they have. Are there any legal obligations for skiers?
There are. Most importantly, one of the first rules is a skier has to maintain reasonable control of his or her speed and course at all times. They have to stay clear of grooming equipment. They have to heed posted warning signs on the hill. And then there's another rule that I think puts it probably most importantly. It says a skier shall conduct himself or herself within the limits of his or her individual ability and shall not act or ski in a manner that may contribute to his or her injury or the injury of another person. A skier shall be the sole judge of his or her ability to negotiate a track, trail, or slope. So there you have it. You have to ski safely. You have to ski in a way that doesn't pose injury to someone. And it's incumbent upon the skier to be honest about what it is that they can ski and what it is that maybe they shouldn't be skiing in order to avoid injury.
Well, injuries unfortunately do happen on those slopes. So how does the Ski Safety Act apply to those personal injury claims? It sounds to me like there's a lot of, well, kind of subjective terms you're using. How do you determine who's at fault?
It's a great question. Anytime you have a state statute like this that governs a particular type of conduct, in this case, skiing, you have to ask the question, well, what role does the state statute play in determining conduct and responsibility? And what role does what we call the common law or the general principles of negligence? What roles does that play? Well, our courts over the years have wrestled with this question when it comes to injuries that occur on ski slopes. And the courts have held, in short, that the basic rules of negligence that we would think of as applying in a traditional personal injury case, those basic principles aren't necessarily the ones that you look at to determine fault or responsibility when someone is injured on the ski slope. Rather, you look to the Ski Area Safety Act to determine whether the person who caused the injury was or was not complying with their obligations under that statute. So here's a good passage from a case that I think kind of summarizes it. It says, this is the Court of Appeals, saying, it is possible, and therefore skiers assume the risk that a collision can occur between skiers when neither skier is violating his or her duties under the Ski Area Safety Act, That is, it's an obvious and necessary danger of skiing that sometimes accidents simply happen. The court goes on to say, but again, if it can be shown that the collision resulted from a violation of the act, then the violator is to be held liable for damages under the act. So what does that mean in real life? Well, a good example is there's this case from the Court of Appeals where one skier downhill was hit by another skier who was coming down the hill apparently very fast, and who right before the collision blurted out, "Watch out," or "Look out," and then the crash occurred. Well, in that case, the court said, if the person who hit the skier downhill really was skiing in that manner, then they're really not in control of their speed, and they're probably not in compliance with the Ski Area Safety Act. And so therefore, in that situation, the injured skier may be able to pursue a claim against the skier who struck them. But again, the question here becomes whether or not the conduct that is alleged to have caused the injury is something that violates the Ski Area Safety Act or doesn't. And that's really the heart of the matter in a lot of these ski injury cases.
Sounds like there's a lot to unpack. If that's something that you want to look more into, I know that you have a place people can find more info.
Sure, they can find our law firm online at www.sinasdramis.com. They can shoot us an email at info@sinasdramis.com or give us a call in West Michigan at 616-301-3333.